Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Stepping Up. I'm really excited to share with you my brand new podcast, Navigating Mental States. My name's Tar, the host of this show, and I'll be hitting the road interviewing individuals that I've met throughout my journey in discovering and understanding the impacts and effects of mental health and how they were able to overcome the challenges they faced and what the steps were that they took in seeking the help that they needed for their recovery. This show is to help those that are seeking help but are unaware of where to reach out to or how they can go about it. I'll get the opportunity to interview individuals of different professions to your average Joes and women who have also experienced some of their mental health issues that I've worked alongside with and met throughout my journey in discovering and understanding the impacts of mental health. So please, if you know someone that's struggling, send them to this channel so that they can learn from it. If it relates to them or can resonate with them in some way or form, then I hope that this platform is somewhere they can use the advice and tips or steps to help them take those first steps in the right direction in improving their own situation. So hit that subscribe button so we can grow this channel to reach out to more men and women who are struggling with the impacts of mental health. And in today's episode, we get to kick it off with a dear friend of mine. His name is Adrian, who is a facilitator for Marcus Missions and has been there helping men who have been suffering through mental health. But I won't give away too much, as you'll get to hear our conversation that we had, and he gets to share with you the experiences he went through and what steps he took to improve his situation, and now also what he does in helping other men that are struggling throughout their mental health issues today too. So stick around, and please, like I said, subscribe so we can help this channel grow and reach out to more individuals that are suffering and struggling through mental health, and how to reach out and find the help necessary in helping them to improve their situation just that little bit more better than they were yesterday. So let's get back to it. Today I'm here with Adrian, who I consider a dear friend and also a mentor who's helped a community where he supports men that are struggling through hard times. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Adrian. Just before we kick off, can you just share a little bit about your background and what you support throughout Marcus Missions?
Yeah, g'day Tar. Thanks for having me along. This is going to be a blast. Yeah, look, I had a pretty atypical upbringing. It was pretty rough. It was the stuff of nightmares for a lot of people. But as life went on, I sort of got more on top of things, and things went along pretty well until sort of later in life, when everything started to catch up. After my marriage ended and all the other unresolved stuff from when I was younger sort of came through. And in 2012 I lost my sister to suicide, and that was really my first brush with suicide. And so I wanted to learn more about it, because I felt that I hadn't done enough, as quite often we do. When we lose someone close to us.
Like, how were you able to seek the help you needed to during that time?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I ended up with pretty severe depression. I was actually suicidal myself, and a good friend of mine dragged me along to something called an ASSIST suicide prevention course. It's like a 2-day in-depth immersion-based suicide prevention training. And from there, only a few weeks later, I found out about Marcus Mission and rocked up to the second workshop that they'd ever held in Bundy.
So what did it feel like when you managed to find like such a community that was...
It was a relief. It's easy when you're in the middle of all this stuff to just get really bogged down in it and feel like you're so alone, and you don't want to reach out. You don't want to be a burden to people. So to have these things sort of fall in my lap, I didn't really seek them out as much as I should have. But when I was made aware of them, they were just so welcoming, you know. It made a massive difference.
And is it something that us men are stubborn in our own ways, that we feel like we can handle it, but deep down, really, we just don't know how to seek the help that we need? Or
Yeah, look, I might have a slightly different, slightly more controversial view of that sort of stuff. You know, I don't believe that it's stubbornness so much. I think it's a case of, you know, we know what we're going through, and we don't want anyone else to have to shoulder that load. You know, we're going to push through and spare those around us, especially if you've got a family. You know, you want to keep it away from your kids and your wife as much as possible. You know, so you're not making their lives harder. And then when it comes to your mates, you know they're going through the same stuff that you're going through. Just being a bloke's hard enough as it is, you know, with the things we've got to do, and so you don't want to burden them either, and you sort of end up getting this disconnection happening, you know, and then it's harder to bridge that gap once the gap starts to widen.
oh yeah. And but with the mates that you had around you, did any of them actually realize you were going through, and what you were going through was like really hurting deep down inside?
Yeah, sure. Some of them did, but I never let them know the depth
Oh, okay.
of the issues, for sure.
So what else was it that you had to really work on, trying to improve on the struggles that you're going through, the challenges? Were there books you needed to read, or was it, what did you have to really work on at the time when you discovered Marcus Missions?
Yeah, look, I'd already done a fair bit of reading on different things. I dealt with a lot of the trauma from when I was younger, but the biggest one, funnily enough, was the feeling of abandonment when I was put into the care of the state, you know, as a 10-year-old. And that's what chased me through my whole life.
For someone like me, I don't know what that is. What do you mean?
That basically my mum took me to a government building and signed me over.
Oh, like a boarding school kind of thing?
No, it's like a children's home. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, signed over her parental rights.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear, eh? Like,
That's all
did
right,
you ever
yeah.
get to catch up with your mother down the track?
I've tried to build a relationship, but there's really not one there to build, unfortunately. So,
Oh, sorry to hear.
yeah.
What about was your father involved at some stage?
Yeah, look, I met my dad, I was about 16 when he finally found me, because he'd been sort of kept out of my life by my mum. And because they'd had a pretty rocky relationship when I was born, you know. He ended up in jail, and mum took off to Queensland from Melbourne, so
Oh, wow.
she didn't make it easy for him to find me. But when he did finally catch up, he was keen to sort of try and build a relationship. And we did. I moved up from Brisbane to Hervey Bay and lived with Dad through a couple of moves and running a few businesses that he ran, you know.
Oh, nice.
So he was a serial entrepreneur.
Nice.
But now that I look back, probably a little bit manic, you know. So we had the ups and downs with Dad, but you don't really see it at the time, you know. You're just stoked to have family that you can be with.
Nice,
and yeah.
So today, what do you do today? Like after getting involved with Marcus Missions, like I did mention earlier, you facilitate, but like there's a bigger responsibility behind it all, and so if you could just share.
Yeah, sure. Look, my main motivation is just I looked around and there really wasn't a lot out there for blokes when I was struggling and really needed something, you know. And the guys at Marcus Mission just made a massive difference to me, you know. They just let me be myself. You know, there's no pretenses, there's no walls, there's no limits to how much you can express yourself. And that made a big difference. People just accepted me for who I was, and I didn't have to be in a role So before your role is husband, it's father, it's provider, it's employee, it's all these other things that you need to do to function, but there's never really any time left for you. And the biggest thing with the guys and people that have helped me is spending time focusing on who I am and how I fit into the world, rather than my roles that I have to fulfill.
Yeah, yeah. So have you had any challenges with some of the blokes that would come up to Marcus Missions seeking help? Because I suppose, would it be fair to say that sometimes it can get a bit aggressive because the blokes probably come in expecting everything to get fixed on the first visit?
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never seen aggression. Yeah, we like one fella. He came to us in very deep grief. His wife had passed away after being he'd looked after her for a few years, and oddly enough, the first session that he came to was one on dealing with grief. So it was perfect timing, really. And we're about 20 minutes in. I could see he wasn't really gelling with what we were talking about. And I said, "Oh, what's going on?" He says, "Oh, talk. It's all anyone wants to do is talk. No one wants to help." And I had a bit of a chat with him and said, "Well, we've only just started. How about we have a chat at the end of the session and see where your head's at, how you're feeling." And by the end of the session, he couldn't wait to come back for the next one. And it was interesting because in the subsequent sessions that he's come to, and he's never missed one since. He at first, he says it's great while I'm here, but as soon as I'm home alone, everything sort of comes in on me, But over the years, that's dissipated. He's getting a bigger handle on things and can generally manage the day to day a lot better.
Nice. What would you say this might get a bit personal, but the darkest moment in your life when you were really struggling?
Oh man, how honest do you want me to be?
Yeah, as honest as you need to.
At one particular time, I had organised for a friend of mine to take my kids for the weekend so I could go up the bush and end my life. So yeah, it's about as dark as it gets, brother.
How did you stop yourself from going ahead with that then?
My friend figured out what was going on and refused. So I had to hang around, and yeah, I really had plenty of time to think about that, and at times it's literally been, mate, I'll hang on one more day and see what happens tomorrow, and every day I've got to get up and make the same decision, Because this is the funny thing they never talk about in suicide prevention space, is once you've made the decision, it always stays on the table as an option. You don't have to go through that turmoil again of making the decision to end your life. It's always there, and you've got to be really careful not to let that creep back in. And that's where talking to people and being around people that are aware of you makes a big difference, because if you don't see your signs that things aren't going great, and they do, they can pull you up and you go, ooh, and you realise that these little feelings have been wrapping around you like an octopus,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad your friend recognised, that time of what you were struggling with and managed to pull you out of that. Because it's a good thing you're here today to share that story. It's a sad story to hear that you went through that. But I think for some of the listeners, they could possibly relate to such challenges where they've had something like that, setting themselves up to do things like that to themselves.
Yeah, look, for sure. It's tough when you're going through it, but I can unequivocally say keep reaching out for help, because not one size fits all either. You might get a mental health care plan through your GP and get a publicly funded counsellor or whatever, but if they're not a great fit, it's not going to improve. So you need to not be afraid to say to your doctor, hey, look, this is not working. Can we find a different provider?
Yeah.
You know.
What else do you think would be other solutions that, you know?
Yeah, look, man, they could certainly make it easier, and they could have more services available. But the sad reality of the day and age that we live in is that blokes are not a high priority for our government. There's not a lot of funding for stuff to look after blokes. And as such, it's harder to find the things that we need when we need them. Word of mouth is a big player. So, to all the guys that get involved in this sort of stuff, we say, tell your friends, tell everybody, if you see your mates struggling, sit down and have a conversation. This is how we get going. I know so many guys that have been struggling and they didn't even know that you could go to your GP and say, hey, I'm really struggling, and get a mental health care plan that would allow them initially 6 free sessions with a counsellor. And if everything's going okay, you can then get that extended out to 10, I believe, at the moment.
I didn't know that.
Oh, there you go.
I do now, but wow.
And that's usually all bulk billed as well. So, or at worst, you might have to pay a gap depending on the provider, but generally that's not too terrible.
Like you said just before, where your friends try to reach out, but if a friend recognizes that someone is struggling, like, what would be the advice you would suggest for someone to reach out to say, hey, the kind of advice that could help them, just not on a professional level, I suppose, just as a friend, to say, hey man, I'm here for you, like, you want to talk?
Yeah, look, it really depends on the person and the situation. If you think that they're really struggling, one of the most powerful things you can do is literally ask them the question. Say, mate, look, I can see you're doing it tough. Have you been thinking about killing yourself? And it's not something you want to beat around the bush. You want to be direct and look them in the eye when you say it. And I guarantee that if they're struggling, that will give them the permission they need to speak to you. And is it going to be confronting? Absolutely. Are you going to be able to handle it all yourself? Probably not. But the bonus is there is Lifeline for all the good they are. But you can also say, hey, did you know your GP can hook you up with whatever? So what we try to do, we're more like social support. We can do one-on-one with people that are struggling. We match them up with one of our guys, and once a week they get together and have a chat and unwind. But it's also about having options and knowing what to do and who to call and whatnot. Most of us in our phone, a Lifeline is AAA Lifeline. It's the very first thing on the list.
And I think that's one of the key things that I think a lot of men struggle with as well, like just trying to seek that help, but also men that are trying to help someone else, possibly like they recognize that a friend is struggling, but like as you mentioned with that confronting question, that even I felt that it was like, oh, that's such a powerful question, and it's I feel like it's a scary question to ask as well.
Oh man, it's terrifying to ask someone else that question, but it's something you need to get out in the open straight away, because if the answer is yes, that really means you're going to have to work hard and really help your friend as much as you can. It's not saying you need to take on their load, but stand beside them and put an arm around their shoulder and say, hey, what can we do to work on this? If the answer is no, it's just like, oh no, things are rough, and but I haven't really thought about that. that's great.
but it's
But
still worth
ask the
asking.
questions.
Yeah.
Just ask the questions. What is it that really, really upsets you? What is it that's bringing you down? Is it one thing? And what we tend to do is ask open-ended questions. Give them space to talk. The biggest thing is if you're going to ask the question, don't be in a rush to run away. It's one of my every year we have this "Are you okay?" day. It's one of my pet peeves, because you ask the question, but most people don't want the answer.
And everyone kind of would either brush it off real quickly just to say, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, or if they go, "Oh man, no, I'm really struggling. Oh shit, that's no good. Yeah, you probably should see someone about that."
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're going to ask the question, stick around for the answer. That's all I'm saying. And guys, we appreciate people that stick around for the answer. It can make all the difference.
Oh, okay. That's amazing. And I'll just share with you quickly an experience that I was doing some cold calls, a little side hustle, and I remember one of the clients I rang up. It was the tone within his voice as I was asking him, "Hey man, how you going? Just wondering, would you be interested?" But then when he replied back, there was no, I suppose, enthusiasm behind that tone within his voice, and I actually just stopped and just went, "Excuse me, mate. Can I just ask you, are you okay? Is everything going all right? Like, what's going on?" And then he kind of just, shared his struggles of what he was going through, a relationship, work. He lost his job, so it was like, holy, like, yeah. And I was like, wow. And just exactly what you just said is stick around for the answer. I did. I literally said to him, "Look, just give me a few minutes. I know someone who'll contact you." I rang up John.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
John managed to get a hold of him, and within a few days he was at the workshop. So it was, I look back at what you just said just before. I was like, wow, that's the simplest thing that we can do for any guy that's struggling, is to just...
Look, mate, at the end of the day, we just need to be heard. We just need to tell our story sometimes, and just have someone sit there and listen, and not try to fix it. Just to sit there and arm on the shoulder. Look, probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, I was in the pie shop chatting to the lady there because she's a friend, and having a bite to eat. And a fella that I knew came in, and he just didn't seem like he was doing great. And he sat down, and I sort of started having a chat with him, and then spent the next hour and a half holding his hand while he, told me what was going on. A friend of his had passed, and it was really, really affecting him. And, the poor lady behind the counter, she's looking at me going, "Is everything okay?" And it's like, yeah, it's good. My mate just needs a chat, And she was great. She just let us do our thing, and when he was feeling better, he got up and he left. We had a hug, and off he went. But that's the sort of things that happen. We never know when they're going to happen. But I think if we can see something going on, it really is, for those that choose to walk this path, it's worth stopping and saying, "Hey mate, is everything okay?" Even though that's a yes or no question.
Yeah.
And the other one is everyone, "Oh yeah, I'm okay." Oh, only okay? And you'll be familiar with that because that's one of John's special questions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, and like what you were saying, when you said earlier that you set guys up with other guys, as in do you guys mentor?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. And the guys that are doing the mentoring, we have training for them as well, so that they're well versed in listening and understanding and getting feedback as they go. Like I said, we're not here we don't judge, and we're not here to fix stuff. We're just here to spend a bit of time and let the guys have the time and space that they need to go through it and have a think about things and pull it apart in their own heads. And that's where having someone else beside you just to prompt you along with some questions, or even just sit in silence while you cogitate that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that there needs to be a lot more men's groups out there for like the rural areas, that because sometimes it might be difficult for men to reach out to areas where they could seek the help that they need?
Yeah, look, mate, there's always room for more of that sort of stuff. Myself, I'm part of the men's shed here in Gin. So every Wednesday and Friday morning we get together with other blokes and do woodwork, and we're there for woodwork, but we're not. We're there because we're around people that are blokes, and we get to spend time with them and have a chat. There's a really good connection between the guys, and if someone's struggling, they've always got a friendly ear that they can talk. It's much more about the social side of things than learning woodworking skills, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And do we need more of that? Absolutely. Yeah.
Any suggestions how we could do that?
Mate, I'd love to see some men-only gyms
All right.
where guys could just go in and work out without having to worry about, cameras and all the other bullshit that's been going on in gyms,
Yeah, yeah.
People wanting to film their workouts, and we just want to train, You don't get shoulders like these from sitting at home, But if if you've got to wait while someone's taking photos of themselves, using a piece of equipment, it's like, get out of here.
Yeah, gotta hit those likes and get their so-called subscribers and all sorts. Oh, social media. I mean, you gotta love it and hate it, because right now it's helping us to try and get that message out to.
Yeah, for sure. But even then, I think social media, you've got to take responsibility for it. I was having an interesting conversation with a friend the other day, and he's going, all this stuff keeps appearing and da-da-da-da-da. I said, well, don't interact with it. It reminded me of, there's a sort of a meme, there's an old Indian guy, and there's a young brave talking to him. He says, good and evil, what is it? And he says, well, basically there's two wolves in your mind. There's a good one, and an evil one that guide your thoughts. And he says, which one wins? He says, well, the one you feed. And our algorithms are exactly like that. When you like and comment, it will just feed you more of the stuff that you're interacting with. If you're starting to see stuff that you don't like, block the creator or scroll on by. Don't get engaged. Don't fight with people in the comments, because all you're doing is serving up more of that stuff that upsets you. We've got to take a little bit of responsibility for our own actions on social media. And once you know that the way you engage in social media directly affects what you see on social media, it becomes a very different animal.
Yeah, that alone too can, for younger men as well, I suppose, losing their way through the process of it all, getting caught up with the social media side of things.
Yeah, look, if you're doing stuff for likes, you're not really doing things for the right reason. You need to do things because it's right for you, not because it's right for other people, and not because you want other people to be proud of you. In your own head if what you're doing is right and true, And that's the path you need to stay on as a guy. That's where a lot of people find themselves in trouble. They spend all their time trying to be something for other people. Remember what I was saying before about the roles that we fulfill?
Yes.
And there's no time left to be themselves or to learn about themselves. And that's even worse on social media. If you start to do a particular thing, or you might have a certain point of view and you'll notice that gets more views than other points of view, you'll tend to do what gets you the attention.
Yeah.
As soon as you stop hunting for attention and start looking to feel good within yourself rather than from other people, it makes a big difference,
But I think that's also a huge gap for the younger generation missing out on role models that could show them those 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 ways of like what's more beneficial for them in helping them to stay positive, and instead of getting caught up with the next millionaire who wants you to like just click this, and then boom, they get caught up in that world, and then somewhere along the way they possibly lose themselves, instead of having the kind of role models like yourself to help others and realize that doing things for the right reasons can benefit not only them but others around them too. Do you feel like that's possibly what's missing?
Yeah, look, the term role model is something I'm really not comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
No, not having a go, but I'm just saying I don't view myself that way. I just, I found what works for me, and it's made my life a little bit better. And if I can help other blokes sort of get through a bit of stuff as well, fantastic.
Yeah.
We lose so many guys a year. We lose about one guy every 3 hours to suicide in Australia, on average. It's absolutely horrifying. I was down at Parliament House last International Men's Day, 19th of November, and we had out one shoe for every bloke that had taken his life in the previous year. And there were 2,455 shoes. And when you're looking down, 3/4 of an acre of shoes, it really gets your attention. We're doing it again this year. I don't organise that, that's somebody else. But as a visual reminder of just how bad the situation is, that's one of the things that really motivates me. If there's one less bloke that takes his own life, that's a win for me. If one more bloke knows what he can do to help himself, that's a win. I'm not here to say follow me. Shit, I've done plenty of things wrong in my life, but if one person looks and goes, oh, yeah, maybe I can, have a chat to someone or get some help, fantastic.
Yeah. Are they having that same thing again this year?
Yeah, 19th of November.
Okay. Just give me the details and I'll put it in the description, so if people are interested to check it out too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get on board and support that cause as well, to see what it's really like. Because I know that'll be definitely confronting for people, for a lot of men, to see all these shoes, because just you mentioning that was like, whoa, that's
it's pretty
sad.
It is. It's incredibly sobering when you're there.
Oh, well, before we wrap this up, are there any other things that you would like to share throughout the experience of what you've been through, what you're trying to do, and how people can kind of like find Marcus Missions?
Yeah, look, Marcus Mission itself is on Facebook and on Instagram. You can generally see we've got posts up there that show when our online events are on and when our local events are on. Up here at Bundy, Sunshine Coast, and the Gold Coast. So that's one way of getting around it. But I just want people to know that it's okay to do things for yourself. It's not selfish. We need time to do things for ourselves. Have we got other roles? Sure. But at the end of the day, if we're not able to look after ourselves, we can't really look after anybody else effectively. We can't fulfill our roles if we're not in perfect working order or in good working order, And just reach out. You'd be surprised at the people that you talk to that don't think it's a burden. That's one of the biggest things for me. I just didn't want to burden anybody. And I still have days where it's like that,
Do you think the majority of men are like that too?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. But it's also about learning about yourself and your signs that you're not doing great. So I've got a friend, he's normally in bed by about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm a night owl, so I work quite late. And if I see his little green dot online at midnight or 1 o'clock, I know that he's struggling a bit, so we can have a chat and see how he's going. For me, it's dishes at home. If the dishes on the sink are more than 2 or 3 plates, oh, hang on, I'm letting some stuff slide here. What's going on? You know, you get to learn your own tells, but you can't learn that while you're busy trying to be something for everybody else. You need time to sit down and look at what's going on for you, you know.
Which is also another area that I suppose you need that awareness, and also it's how men can, how do they develop that? Because if they're not willing to reach out, I think that's probably one of the challenging parts of it all, is that some men are struggling, but they just don't know, like as you mentioned earlier, don't want to burden anyone.
Sure. Look, it's a two-way street. Like, you do have to reach out. You've got to take some responsibility for your own health and well-being. But if you're in a space where you've been through that and helped other people, chuck up flyers, you know, for different things that you know about on the notice board at work. You know,
Yeah.
have numbers in your phone right at the top of your contacts list, so that if someone says, "Hey, man, you know, this is tough. What can I do?" You've got, you know, Lifeline or the men's referral service or the suicide callback line or a million other things. You know, it might even be the local GP. You know, there's always options for people, and we don't ram it down their necks. We just say, "Hey, have you thought about, you know, this or whatever?" But it comes with practice, and the way to practice is ask the questions. If you see someone struggling, sit down, you know, have a chat.
Wow. Yeah, given me a lot to think about too. Where I've noticed some men, but you feel nervous if
You
they
don't want
might take it the wrong way.
you don't want to interfere.
Yeah, and it's like you said,
Yeah.
just before. You don't want them to. They probably don't want to burden you, even if you ask them. But then again, you won't know until you ask.
Absolutely. What's the worst they can say? No, piss off.
Okay, what's one advice you could give for the audience out there?
Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, and just keep in touch with friends. Literally, if you've got friends or relatives that you haven't spoken to in a while, pick up the phone, say good day. It doesn't have to be on social media. It could be anywhere that you get in touch with them. You know, you can ring them. For me, there's nothing better than hearing someone's voice. You know, face to face, even better. I hate Zoom with a fiery passion because it's so impersonal and there's 30 other people on the screen. You know, yeah. If it's one-on-one, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I've had the trouble of like, who's on? You're looking at the screen. Oh, hey, John.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, look, just got to be kind to ourselves. That we're so busy trying to be kind to everybody else that we just forget about us. You know.
Yeah. Well, okay, and just one other thing. What were like, say, one of the steps that you took to improve your mental state?
Yeah, well, I actually did get professional help. I started going to these social-based sort of things like Marcus Mission or Grab Life by the Balls is another good one down on the sunny coast. There's quite a few groups out there that get together for blokes to have a chat, but it's hard to find them, you know, so we've got to go looking for them. The other thing that made a massive difference was I actually changed what I was eating. I discovered that eating anything with flour in it, like wheat flour, just tanked my mental health.
Whoa.
There was one particular incident. A friend of mine had made me some pancakes for breakfast, and 20 minutes later I was curled up in a ball on the floor, just bawling my eyes out, you know, so depressed. And that sort of caught me off guard, and then I realised that there was a bit of a pattern. And so I wouldn't eat that stuff for a while, and oh, it can't hurt, I'll just try again, and straight down the rabbit hole again, you know. And
Oh, wow.
so now I don't eat any of that sort of stuff. That's made a massive difference. And that coincided with starting my time at Marcus Mission as well.
Oh, nice.
So the two worked hand in hand.
Are there any other steps that you took to improve, continuously keep up with improving areas of your life, or?
Well,
were they just the two main ones that kind of?
well, by attending, Marcus Mission and other groups, you learn these tools that help you, break the cycle of that downward spiral, as much as you can. You start to you see your mood changing earlier, and you can step in sooner before it gets really bad, and that's made a massive difference as well. Like I said, the little things. Oh, the dishes are building up. Oh, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
What's upsetting me? Why am I not motivated? And then I get to sit down and go, okay, or have a chat with someone. I could ring John, I can ring my best mate Mike. There's a million people you can talk to once you come out of your shell and take the time. A lot of guys too find it hard to talk to their partners because it sort of comes back at you later on in an argument, which is why we tend to sort of recommend that if you can, talk to your bloke friends. It's the same thing at work, you generally wouldn't talk to your boss about you feeling not great unless it was something directly related to work, simply because you don't want it to affect your life down the track. We need a safe place that we can talk and it's not going to come back at us and bite us in the arse. Oh, in the butt, sorry. Yeah.
But do you think some of the women out there who feel like that their partners are suffering could possibly learn from this to possibly help their partners out that are struggling? Because I did come across one of these men's group meetings where a bloke who rocked up only attended this meeting through his wife. His wife did all the research and found this particular men's group, and he turned up saying it was his wife. So I felt like I feel that that's something I think women could also.
Absolutely, and that's the perfect way for them to deal with it. Send the guy off to a men's group where they can be themselves and they don't have to put on any of their roles. They can just walk in and be themselves.
Yeah.
If you're at home trying to have these conversations at home, you've still got your husband hat on, you've still got your dad hat on, you've still got your provider hat on. If you walk into a men's shed and you're learning how to use a table saw, you're not any of those things. You're just the new bloke who's trying new things, and everyone there's
socializing and enjoying the company of everyone that's there.
Do the things that allow you to be yourself. There's fishing clubs. Who knew?
Yeah, I didn't know. Well, I don't know if that's a good thing because they might catch all the fish, but that's still pretty amazing to hear.
But yeah, having a partner that's supportive is fantastic. Having a partner that's not supportive can be devastating. And it sounds like your friend, she did the research and found that for her partner. Fantastic. You couldn't ask for more.
It kind of stuck with me that I'd realised, I think it also could benefit wives that are out there who's possibly seen their husbands, kind of go down and realise, there's only so much that she thinks she can do. When I got to meet this guy who shared his story about it was his wife, I realised, wow, that's amazing.
No, he's obviously got a fantastic partner, for sure.
Yeah. Well, look, Adrian, thanks for this. So this is a wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us today, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thanks for the opportunity, mate.
And I look forward to continuing to do more of these podcast shows so that other people around Australia and even around the world could possibly learn from the little gold nuggets we've provided today in this show, where they could incorporate wherever they may be in their small part of the world, and follow through with just doing the simple basics of getting men together, and wives possibly finding ways to help their partners out as well. But then again, vice versa, the wives would also be struggling with some of the hardships of what their partners are going through too. So
sure.
But I appreciate you coming on, man. Today it's really an honor, and I'll grab all the details and then put it in the description down below so that everyone can kind of find the Marcus missions either on the Bundaberg or Sunny Coast and the Gold Coast.
That's it.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, brother.